Chapter 1. The Seed of Thought. Have you ever wondered why some glide through life with clarity, while others remain lost in the fog? What is it that separates those who master their journey from those who struggle with every step? The answer lies not in circumstance, not in fortune, but in the mind. The same world, the same set of challenges, is laid before every one of us. Yet, how we navigate those challenges, how we engage with this life, is determined by something far more subtle and elusive: our thinking. Thought is not just a random flicker of activity in the brain. It is the very foundation upon which your reality is built. Every great movement, every personal transformation, every shift in the tides of history begins with a thought. This is the seed from which all things grow. It is not passive, it is active, shaping, bending, influencing the path before you. But here lies the secret that few ever realize. Thought can be harnessed, refined, and wielded with precision. Imagine your mind as a vast, untamed wilderness. It is full of raw power, but without direction, it remains wild, chaotic, and unpredictable. Those who succeed, those who achieve mastery, are not those with the most talent or the best opportunities. They are the ones who have learned to cultivate their thoughts, shaping them with the care of a gardener tending to their most prized seeds. The power of thought is not some distant, esoteric concept. It is something immediate, practical, and accessible to every one of us. Yet, we allow our thoughts to run rampant, dictated by emotions, past experiences, and the influences of the outside world. In doing so, we become prisoners of our own mind, led astray by the very tool that could free us. You see, thoughts are like a river. A river can bring life, sustenance, and growth, but it can also flood and destroy if not guided. The untrained mind is like a river out of control, its currents strong, its path uncertain. It pulls you in directions you did not choose, and often you find yourself stranded, wondering how you arrived at a place of confusion or pain. But just as a river can be guided by channels and dams, so too can the mind be directed. This is the art of critical thinking, the conscious act of shaping your thoughts, of being the master rather than the servant of your mind. It is a skill that transforms not only your inner world, but the world around you. So how do you begin? How do you start to harness the power of thought to create the life you truly desire? It starts with awareness. Most people are unaware of their thoughts, believing that they are merely observers in the constant flow of mental activity. But this is the great illusion. You are not the observer, you are the creator. Every thought that passes through your mind is a potential seed, one that can grow into something powerful if you allow it. Yet, without awareness, these seeds are left untended, scattered carelessly on the winds of distraction. When you become aware of your thoughts, you take the first step toward mastery. You begin to notice the patterns that have governed your life, the habits of mind that have kept you in a state of inertia. You see where you have allowed doubt, fear, and uncertainty to take root, and where you have given away your power to outside forces. Awareness is the foundation, but it is not enough on its own. You must also cultivate discernment, the ability to recognize which thoughts serve your highest purpose and which ones do not. This requires a level of introspection that few are willing to undertake, for it means confronting the truth of who you are and what you have become. It means looking into the mirror of your mind and seeing both the beauty and the flaws with equal clarity. Discernment allows you to sift through the noise, to separate the valuable from the worthless. Not every thought deserves your attention. Not every impulse should be followed. The wise thinker knows this and acts accordingly, choosing only those thoughts that align with their goals, their vision, their truth. But there is another element to this process, one that is often overlooked: adaptability. The mind, like water, must remain fluid. Rigidity is the enemy of growth. If you hold too tightly to a single way of thinking, you become brittle, inflexible, and unable to respond to the ever-changing circumstances of life. Just as a tree that bends in the wind survives the storm, so too must your thoughts remain adaptable, able to shift and change as needed. Flexibility in thought does not mean a lack of conviction. It means that you are open to new ideas, new perspectives, new ways of seeing the world. It means that you are willing to let go of what no longer serves you, even if it once did. This is not a sign of weakness, but of strength. It is the hallmark of the critical thinker, the one who can navigate the complexities of life with grace and wisdom. And here is where the real magic happens. When you master the art of critical thinking, you begin to see the world differently. What once appeared as obstacles become opportunities. What once seemed confusing becomes clear. You no longer react to life, you respond with purpose and intention. You become the architect of your own destiny, shaping your reality with each carefully chosen thought. But this is not a journey that can be rushed. It is a lifelong process, one that requires patience, dedication, and a willingness to grow. It is a path that few choose, but those who do are rewarded beyond measure. In the end, the mastery of thought is the mastery of self. And when you master yourself, you unlock the door to limitless potential. Your mind becomes your greatest ally, your most powerful tool in the pursuit of your dreams. The seed of thought has been planted. Now it is up to you to tend to it, to nurture it, and to watch as it grows into something extraordinary. This is the beginning of your journey toward true mastery, the first step on the path to a life of purpose, clarity, and power. The question now is not whether you can do it, but whether you will. The choice is yours. Chapter 2. The Art of Seeing Clearly. Clarity. It is a word so often misunderstood. Most believe that clarity is simply the ability to see things as they are, to separate truth from illusion. But clarity runs deeper than just perception. It is an awareness that transcends the obvious. It is the power to see beyond the surface, to understand the intricate layers that weave together the tapestry of life. It is a vision that goes beyond what the eyes can witness, into what the mind can comprehend. The path to clarity begins with stillness. In a world that is constantly moving, spinning with chaos and distraction, how often do we truly stop and observe? Not just observe with our eyes, but with our minds, watching how thoughts arise and dissipate, watching how emotions flicker and fade. Like clouds moving across the sky, our thoughts can either obscure our vision or, when allowed to pass, reveal the vast expanse of truth beneath them. Imagine, for a moment, that you are standing at the edge of a vast battlefield. The terrain is rugged, the conditions unpredictable. To the untrained eye, it appears as though there are only two options: fight or retreat. But for the one who has cultivated clarity, the battlefield becomes something else. It is no longer a space of conflict, but a canvas, a place where infinite possibilities exist, where strategies can unfold in 1,000 different directions. This is the power of seeing clearly, not just in battle, but in life. Every decision, every obstacle, every opportunity is part of a greater whole. The untrained mind sees only the immediate, the urgent, the pressing, but the mind that has learned to observe sees far beyond that. It sees the connections between events, the ripple effects of actions that stretch far into the future. You may have heard it said that in the heat of battle, one must be decisive. But what if the true power lies not in quick decisions, but in the pause, the moment of stillness before action? In that stillness, the mind has the space to see clearly, to assess without the cloud of emotion or the rush of urgency. It is here, in the quiet moments, that the greatest strategies are born. In the ancient traditions of wisdom, clarity was often described as a form of inner vision, a way of seeing that is not dependent on external circumstances. It is as if one steps outside of themselves, outside of their desires, fears, and attachments, and looks at the situation with fresh eyes. In this way, the strategist becomes both observer and participant, both inside and outside of the moment. But how does one cultivate such clarity? How do we train our minds to see beyond the obvious, to perceive the deeper truths that lie beneath the surface of our daily lives? The answer is simple, yet profound. It begins with detachment. Detachment does not mean disinterest or apathy. It means stepping back from the noise of our own thoughts and emotions long enough to observe them without becoming entangled in them. Like a general surveying the battlefield from a high vantage point, we must learn to rise above the immediate chaos and look at the situation as a whole. In the detachment, we begin to see patterns where before there was only confusion. We begin to see the currents of energy that move beneath the surface, guiding the flow of events. And with this vision, we can begin to act, not react, but act with purpose, with intention, with precision. This is where clarity meets strategy. For to see clearly is not merely to observe it, is to understand the implications of what we see. It is to know how one move will affect another, how one choice will create a ripple that spreads far beyond the immediate moment. Think of life as a game of chess. Each piece has its role, its purpose, its potential. But the untrained player sees only the individual moves, focusing on each piece as if it exists in isolation. The master, however, sees the whole board. Every move is connected to the next. Every piece is part of a larger strategy. The master does not just think one move ahead, they see the entire game unfolding before them. In this way, clarity becomes the foundation of wisdom. It allows us to navigate the complexities of life with grace and ease, to move through challenges not with force, but with fluidity. When we see clearly, we no longer resist the flow of life, we become part of it, moving in harmony with the forces around us. But let us not forget, clarity is not a one-time achievement. It is a practice, a discipline. Like sharpening a blade, it requires consistent effort and attention. The mind, left to its own devices, will revert to its habitual patterns of distraction and confusion. But with practice, with patience, we can train the mind to remain clear, even in the midst of chaos. It is in this clarity that true power resides, not in control, not in domination, but in understanding. When we see clearly, we no longer need to force outcomes. We simply align ourselves with the natural flow of events, guiding them with subtlety and precision. So, as you move through the world, remember this: the greatest battles are not fought with brute strength, but with clarity of mind. The greatest victories are not won through force, but through understanding. And the greatest strategies are not devised in the heat of the moment, but in the quiet stillness of observation. In this stillness, in this clarity, lies the key to mastering not only the external world, but the inner world as well. When we can see clearly within, we can navigate anything without. This is the art of seeing clearly, the first step on the path to mastering the mind. Chapter 3. The Silent Observer. In the stillness of your own mind, there is a power you have likely overlooked. The world teaches us to speak, to react, to rush toward action. But few ever tell us about the profound strength that lies in the simple act of observation without judgment, without reaction, without the need to immediately change the course of things. It is in the silence, in the pause between thoughts and actions, that true mastery begins to unfold. Imagine standing on the edge of a vast ocean. The waves are crashing with force, each one carrying the energy of the unknown, unpredictable and wild. Most people are drawn into the storm of these waves, tossed and turned by life's circumstances. They react to each change, each emotion, as though they are powerless to stand still. But the silent observer, the one who knows how to remain grounded even as the waves rage, finds calm in the chaos. This is not a passive state, as many would believe. It is an active, intentional practice of listening deeply, of watching with heightened awareness. The mind, when trained in this art, becomes a mirror to the world, reflecting all without attachment. And in this reflection lies your true power, for only by seeing clearly can you know how to act wisely. Consider this: how often do we react out of impulse? We feel anger, fear, or excitement, and instantly, without thought, we move. We speak too soon. We decide too quickly. We act without seeing the full picture. In this haste, we create ripples, unintended consequences that spread far beyond our control. We are caught in the storm of our own mind, unable to separate the fleeting nature of emotions from the lasting nature of truth. The silent observer, however, waits, not out of laziness or fear, but out of wisdom. They know that time itself is a teacher, that within each moment of stillness, the world reveals a deeper layer of reality. In this waiting, the mind begins to see patterns. Where others see chaos, the silent observer sees opportunity. Where others are blinded by their emotions, the observer perceives clearly and acts only when the time is right. This is not a skill reserved for a select few. It is something you can cultivate in every moment of your life. Every time you feel the surge of an emotion, whether it be anger, fear, or even joy, pause. Observe it. Do not rush to act on it. Let the emotion rise and fall like a wave, knowing that in the next moment it will pass. In that stillness, you will begin to notice something remarkable. You are not the emotion. You are the observer of it. Think about the great tacticians throughout history, the unseen minds behind the most successful strategies. They were not hasty. They did not rush into battle. They waited, they watched, and in their patience, they saw openings that no one else could see. This is the essence of strategic thinking. It is the ability to observe without attachment, to see the long game while others are caught up in the moment. In your own life, you can become this kind of strategist. Whether in business, relationships, or even your own internal battles, the silent observer allows you to navigate with precision. When you stop reacting to every wave that hits you, you gain the power to choose how you will respond. This is where freedom begins, not in controlling the world around you, but in mastering the world within you. The challenge, of course, is that the mind rebels against silence. It craves distraction, stimulation, movement. To sit in stillness feels unnatural, even uncomfortable at times. But this discomfort is the very gateway to transformation. The more you practice sitting with your thoughts, the more you will begin to realize that silence is not emptiness. It is fullness. It is where the answers you seek are waiting to be discovered. Think of your mind as a still pond. When the surface is disturbed, the reflections are distorted. You cannot see what lies beneath. But when the water is calm, the reflections become clear, and you can see to the very depths. This is the state of the silent observer, a mind so still that it reflects the truth of the world back to you, without distortion, without bias. This clarity is what enables you to act from a place of wisdom. It allows you to see not just the immediate consequences of your actions, but the long-term ripple effects that may follow. It gives you the ability to wait for the perfect moment, to strike only when the conditions are in your favor, and to do so with a mind unclouded by fleeting emotions. And so, in this practice of silent observation, you are not becoming passive. You are becoming powerful. For the one who can wait, who can see clearly without being swept away by the currents of life, is the one who ultimately shapes their own destiny. You do not need to silence the world around you. You only need to silence the chaos within. In doing so, you will find that you become the calm in the storm, the eye at the center of the hurricane. And from this place of stillness, you will be able to see the path forward with a clarity that others can only dream of. Chapter 4. The Mirror of Reality. In the stillness of your mind, there exists a reflection, an image that stares back at you. But, like all reflections, it can be distorted. The question is, do you truly see yourself as you are, or merely as you wish to be? This is the challenge of the mind's eye, where reality and illusion often intertwine. To master critical thinking, one must first master the art of self-awareness. Without this, the mind becomes its own deceiver, leading you down paths built on assumptions, untested beliefs, and fleeting emotions. Imagine you are a traveler, wandering through the mist. The road is there, but the fog conceals it, and every step is a gamble. Such is the nature of the unexamined mind. It is said that the greatest battles are not fought on distant battlefields, but within the very chambers of our hearts and minds. And this battlefield, it is one where clarity and delusion clash every day. The wise thinker knows this, and thus prepares not by sharpening external tools, but by polishing the inner mirror, the mirror of reality. When you stand before this mirror, do you see the truth, or are you lost in the image of what you think is true? It is a subtle distinction, but one that defines the difference between mastery and confusion. The reflective surface of the mind is often fogged by ego, obscured by the desires and fears we cling to. We see not what is but what we want to be. In this self-created haze, our minds project assumptions, judgments, and biases onto the world. The mind can easily convince itself that the distorted reflection is reality. It's the nature of thought, after all. Thoughts are quick, reactive, and often unexamined. We think we know. But how often do we pause to truly question? The mind is a master of deception, not by some grand external design, but through its own complexity. It is easy to become lost in the belief that your perspective is the only truth, that your opinions are facts, and your judgments are final. But this rigidity of thought is where we falter. The wise thinker does not cling to conclusions. Instead, they hold their beliefs lightly, like a feather in the wind, ready to let them go when the winds of change reveal a deeper truth. So how do we begin to see through the fog? How do we clean the mirror of our minds? It starts with one simple, yet profound act: questioning. Not questioning the world around us, but questioning ourselves. The path to mastery is the ability to ask, is this true? Or is it merely what I want to believe? This act of self-inquiry is both a weapon and a shield. It cuts through the fog of delusion, allowing you to see things as they truly are, uncolored by the whims of emotion or the distortions of ego. But it also protects you, for when you see reality clearly, you are less likely to be misled by the illusions of others or by the world's shifting circumstances. When you look into the mirror, ask yourself, what do I see? Do I see the true nature of my thoughts, my actions, and my intentions? Or am I still shrouded in the comforting veil of self-deception? The mind, untrained, is like a wild river, flowing chaotically, with no clear direction. It pulls you along with its currents, dragging you into the depths of fear, desire, and uncertainty. But a mind that has faced its own reflection is a river tamed. It flows with purpose, cutting through the terrain of life with grace and precision. In this clarity, there is a power unlike any other. It is not the power to control others or bend the world to your will. No, it is something far deeper. It is the power to understand, to see things as they are, without the need to force them into the narrow confines of your expectations. Once you have faced your reflection and accepted the truth, both the brilliance and the flaws, you become unshakable. For in seeing yourself clearly, you are no longer swayed by the illusions of the external world. You are no longer bound by the opinions of others or by the fleeting nature of success and failure. Your mind, once fogged and distorted, now becomes a clear mirror, reflecting the world as it truly is. And in that reflection, you find not only the truth of yourself, but the truth of everything around you. This is the essence of critical thinking, not just analyzing the world, but turning the gaze inward. The mind, in all its complexity, is both the key and the lock. And once you have unlocked it, the mirror of reality shines forth, undistorted, clear, and bright. It is in that clarity that the true strategist emerges, one who navigates life not by illusion, but by insight, not by force, but by understanding. Chapter 5. The Dance of Strategy. There is a rhythm to life, a cadence that pulses through every decision we make, every step we take. Yet, many remain unaware of this subtle dance, lost in the noise of their own thoughts, believing life to be chaotic and unpredictable. But the critical thinker, the strategist, knows better. They move with precision, not out of certainty, but out of awareness. There is an elegance to their actions, a flow that is both deliberate and adaptable. Strategy is not rigid. It is not a series of unyielding commands or fixed plans etched in stone. No, true strategy is alive. It breathes, shifts, and evolves as you move through the game of life. Every plan you create is merely a starting point, a possibility among many. But the wise strategist does not cling to their plans like a drowning man to a lifeboat. They understand that to survive, to thrive, they must learn to let go. Think of a dancer, poised but flexible, moving in harmony with the music, but never bound by it. They are aware of every shift in rhythm, every subtle change in tempo, and they adapt, effortlessly adjusting their movements. This is the way of the critical thinker, planning, yes, but never shackled by those plans. They act with intent, but remain open to the shifting tides of reality. And so, in the dance of strategy, adaptation becomes your greatest strength. The unexpected is not your enemy, it is your partner. It offers new opportunities, new paths that your rigid plans may have never shown you. In every moment of change, there is a gift, a chance to recalibrate, to realign, and to move forward with renewed clarity. To dance this dance is to understand that life is not linear. It is dynamic, unpredictable, and full of surprises. But with the sharpness of critical thinking and the fluidity of adaptability, you can navigate the twists and turns with grace, turning every unexpected moment into an opportunity for growth and mastery. Chapter 6. The Power of Detachment. Detachment is often misunderstood. Many think it means to withdraw from the world, to sever ties with emotions, desires, and the very essence of what it means to be alive. But true detachment is not a retreat from life, it is a deeper engagement, one that is free from the chains of attachment. It is the quiet, centered place from which wisdom springs. Imagine for a moment a calm lake. When the wind blows across its surface, the water ripples and distorts the reflection of the sky. But when the wind dies down, the lake becomes still again, and only then does the reflection become clear. In much the same way, when our minds are clouded by emotions, desires, and fears, we cannot see the truth. But when we learn the art of detachment, we become like the still lake, reflecting the world with clarity and precision. Detachment is not a suppression of emotions. It is not a denial of your desires or your dreams. Rather, it is the ability to step back, to watch those emotions, those desires, and those thoughts from a place of stillness. It is to know that you are not your emotions, but the observer of them. You are not your desires, but the one who chooses how to act upon them. Think about the moments in your life when decisions were made out of haste, out of fear, or out of a desperate need to control. How often did those choices lead to confusion, frustration, or regret? Now imagine for a moment a different way of being where decisions are made not from reaction, but from reflection. Where you act, not from fear, but from understanding. That is the power of detachment. The strategist knows this well. They stand at the center of the battlefield, but they are not swept up by the chaos around them. They observe, they wait, and when the time is right, they act with precision, without attachment to the outcome, because they trust the process. They know that the right action, taken from a place of clarity, will yield the best result whether or not it is the one they initially hoped for. Detachment does not mean you no longer care. It means you care so deeply that you will not let your personal biases cloud your judgment. It is the freedom to choose wisely, to act with purpose, and to remain unmoved by the inevitable turbulence of life. In this stillness, in this detachment, you will find a power greater than any desire, any fear, or any fleeting emotion. You will find the clarity to navigate the world, not as a servant to your impulses, but as a master of your own destiny. Chapter 7. The Inner Strategist. There comes a moment when you realize the external battles you fought, the struggles that consumed you, were never truly about the outside world. The greatest conflict has always been within. When this understanding dawns, you begin to see the world, not as something you must conquer, but as something you must harmonize with. The battlefield you thought was external is, in fact, a reflection of your internal state. Think about it. Every decision you've ever made, every victory or defeat, was rooted in how you perceived yourself at that moment. The mind, like a seasoned warrior, holds the map to all victories, but it can also be the architect of self-sabotage. This is the paradox. To master the world, you must first master the self. This is the realm of the inner strategist. What does it mean to be an inner strategist? It means navigating life with a quiet yet unshakable wisdom. It means knowing when to advance and when to retreat, not based on fear, but on deep clarity. It's the kind of clarity that doesn't come from books or instructions. It comes from experience, from self-reflection, and from the cultivation of stillness. The inner strategist doesn't act for glory or recognition. There is no need for applause, for the true strategist is unmoved by external validation. The only metric that matters is alignment with truth. This truth is not some grand universal ideal, but the quiet knowing that arises when your actions are in harmony with who you truly are. There is a stillness within you, a silence beneath the noise of everyday life. It is here, in this silence, that the most profound strategies are born. You see, true mastery is not about controlling every outcome. It is about understanding that while you cannot control the external world, you can always influence your internal state. This influence is your power, and it's far greater than anything you can achieve by manipulating circumstances. Imagine a chessboard. The pieces move, the game unfolds, and yet the master player knows that no matter how the pieces are arranged, the power lies not in the game itself, but in the mind of the player. The best strategist is not the one who can predict every move, but the one who remains centered, adaptable, and undistracted by the play of events. The inner strategist is not swayed by the highs and lows of life. Success and failure, gain and loss, praise and criticism, these are but fleeting ripples on the surface of the mind. To a mind that is anchored deep within itself, these ripples cannot cause disturbance. This is the essence of detachment, but it is not a cold, distant detachment. It is the warm embrace of knowing that all is transient, and that within you lies a source of wisdom that cannot be shaken. And here is where the magic truly begins. When you live from this space of inner mastery, something extraordinary happens. You begin to see life as it is, not as your fears or desires color it. You no longer react to circumstances, you respond. There is a world of difference between reaction and response. Reaction is impulsive, driven by emotion. Response is deliberate, driven by understanding. The inner strategist knows that there is no enemy outside, no obstacle to overcome, except the limitations of one's own mind. The journey to mastering critical thinking is the journey of expanding these limits, and as these limits dissolve, the mind becomes a vast, open space free to explore, create, and adapt. In this space, you are no longer bound by the illusions of the world. You are free to move as you choose, like a warrior who has transcended the need for conflict, for the only battle left is the one within. And even that battle begins to fade as you realize that, in truth, there is no fight, only the quiet unfolding of wisdom and the knowing that everything you seek is already within you. So, as you step into the world as an inner strategist, you no longer fear the chaos or the unknown. You embrace it, knowing that you are equipped with the greatest tool of all, mastery over your own mind. And with this mastery, there is no limit to what you can achieve.